Hey, so we'll move on to item 13, the rise in reports of crime. Dave. Oh, Dave, you're muted. Hang on, Sunshine. Can you unmute yourself, Dave? Oh.
Hello?
Yep, you're there.
You got me. Right, this brings in what correspondence come through as well. I'm assuming the two that have sent correspondence in are from Hawksley Drive or thereabouts. The bigger issue is that we've got an increase in crime across Darley-Dale at the moment. And for the last 5 weeks, I've been monitoring most of it. We've got drug runs, we've got antisocial behaviour, we've got drunken disorderly, we've got vandalism, and it just gets worse, even assault. Steve mentioned one thing, which is we need to try and address it. I don't know how we're going to do it. The croquet hut on the park is a gathering point for drinking, and it has been used for smoking apparently. That's one issue we've got there. The police are very aware that it's something that it's an attraction. If it's raining, they'll go in there anyway, but we've got a picture of them that's now with the police of the group that caused drunken disorderly and vandalism up on the tippings at the same night. So we know roughly where they're coming from, and we know roughly where they're gathering, and then they're going round Darley-Dale causing mayhem. So that's one problem. The correspondence we've had to tie that down with all the incidents is that residents of Hawksley Drive back onto what's called Sandy Path, which I'm always on about, which it then backs onto a piece of land that is owned by a private person, we think Andrew Derbyshire, which we've sent a letter to, who lives upon the top road. Not got a reply yet. Ian sent that out. I requested him send it out. It's gone out. He should have got it back now to us. Nothing's been said. So I've got to try and track that down a bit more now. Until that woodlands, we've got it secured. Jason Atkin got it secured for me through the district. They've fenced it off at our request to basically reduce the effort that we've got the police involved. All the neighbours are getting smoke. People are smoking weed. It's going over into their houses. They're banging on their gates. They're doing all sorts of creative, stupid stuff. And so at the moment, the district have taken it on them to help us by fencing off the tipping into the woodland, and on Sandy Path they fenced it off as well. The other night, unfortunately, we had another session of it, which is this drunken lot. They wrecked some of the fencing, which has had to be put up again by the district. I've been on to the police. They've increased patrols around Darley-Dale quite considerably. We've got double the amount going around Darley-Dale at the moment. So hopefully that might help things. But we've got reports of drug activity. One that Mary reported to me, that's been followed. Can you hear me? Mm. That's in hand now. We've got another one up at Cobslater. They're tracking that one, and we've got another one on Whitworth Road that's currently being looked at as well. So we've got quite a bit of activity around it. What the police want to try and do is to build up a relationship between the council and the police, and they are prepared to sort of get involved with us when they can, when all this has calmed down a little bit. I don't mind taking the lead on getting involved with them and everything, and I know two of them anyway, and try and get something moving. That'd be all right?
Yes, please.
The bigger issue, I mean, Steve was verbally abused on the park by this group. Jason Atkins been verbally abused and physically abused by them, which prompted a 999 call. And I think the residents around that area are just getting really quite fed up with it all, and they're not very happy at all at the moment. We've got another area which is on the South Ward, which is down near the Arc, the parking in the car parking area there and going into the field. and swapping things over in there. So somebody's watching that as well. So if the council's okay with it, I'll take the lead on the police, but we need to establish a relationship between us and the police fairly quick, because it's getting a little bit out of hand now.
Thanks, Dave. Your work's much appreciated.
I'm reporting on a weekly basis to the police, and I'm getting more phone calls from the police than I do anybody else. So if you're all right with doing that.
Thanks, Dave.
All right.
It's much appreciated. Thank you. James?
Yeah, it's fantastic work there, Dave. Really good. Andy and all the other people involved with it. I don't know if we have one, but maybe a subcommittee, stroke action committee that maybe Dave could head up would be a good idea, maybe.
Well, we could pop that on the list for next week. Next month.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I think it does need to be seen to be done, and then the police might take it a little bit more further forward. They are coming up with some advice and leaflets and things that we can put into posters and things that we can put into notice boards and stuff. And probably we will have some sort of script that can go in Community Voice as well. But I ain't got that done yet because he's trying to sort that out for me.
Okay. Thank you.
All right.
Dawn, I can't unmute you, so you'll have to unmute yourself.
Right, Dave, yeah, brilliant job. Can I just ask a question? As you know, you mentioned two separate incidents. Are they the same group, the ones down at?
Yeah, they went from the croquet up to the tip-in.
You mentioned a different group were down, obviously doing what we all assume they're doing, down by the Ark.
Yeah, no, we don't know who they are. The activity's been seen. The person who saw them was walking a dog in that field. They saw them come across the railway line. They saw them together as a group when it was an antisocial thing and all that, and they couldn't do it. So there was a group of 3 people there, and then they came back across the railway, got in 2 cars and went.
And is that, yeah.
There's an opinion that from the police information I've got is that they are watching that area because that might be another drop-off point there that they're actually monitoring. The one on Station Road, that's an active one. That's one that's going off at the moment, and the one at Cobslater, that's an active one. So we've got 3 active drug ones. The one on Whitworth Road, Silver Fiesta, that everybody's seen, but nobody's seen any activity apart from there's 3 people in it, and they're watching that one.
So the one on the Whitworth and then the park with Jason and Stephen.
There's a group of about 10 of them, all drunk, legless.
Are they teenagers or? Because obviously you're talking about one really serious thing, aren't you? I'm getting the. Yeah,
well, on that particular occasion, Steve saw them first in the croquet up. They gave him some abuse, and then he obviously carried on and went away. But after that, they went up onto the tip-in and went into where the druggies usually go, which is in the wood.
Right. So you think this is a drug thing as well? Thanks.
Yeah. I don't know what it was, but I got a phone call from one of the residents in Hawksley Drive. I then rang Jason because he's got another police number because I couldn't get through on mine. And he said, I'll go down and see what's going off. He went down there and then they started verbally abusing and then throwing things or getting up to something. He, by that time, had rang 999. He'd got an open channel on his phone and the police heard all the abuse. So okay. It's all documented and logged. But the issue we've got as a council, the residents seem to think that we've got to police this, which we haven't. So I'm trying to get this police thing up and running so as the police actually help us, more to the point.
It's different groups. That's what I was trying to get, because once you get a group that are doing things like that, they tend to all congregate, don't they? They come from other areas.
Oh, this is what we're trying to work out. When they left there, Jason's partner followed them and they went across the road, down Lime Tree on Ochre, and that's when they disappeared.
Okay.
So we know they're in the area, but we don't know who they are properly, apart from we've got a picture of them.
Thank you. Steve's had his hand up for ages, then I'll go to Ian and then Carol. Oh, sorry. Yeah, go on, Steve.
Yeah, I was just going to suggest that come the next meeting, we should look at putting together a subcommittee that deal directly with the police, our district and county councillors, of which I'm happy to be a part of.
Thank you. Ian? I can't unmute you, you have to do something.
Right, so can you hear me? Okay, so just to give you the town clerk inbox perspective on this then.
Can't hear you.
Sorry, can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Yeah. Okay, sorry, you have to put up with my face very close to the screen then. Just to give you a town clerk perspective on this then, we do get a lot of correspondence on this. There's been a steady flow. It started with social distancing, I think. And it is all centred on that area that Dave mentioned, the woodland. So, for example, we've had nothing from the public mentioning the Whitworth, although I understand that, you know, it does spill over there into there sometimes. I think the other thing that comes through in the correspondence, and Dave alluded to it there is some confusion about what we can do about it. They seem to think that you can close off areas, ban people, you know, all sorts of things. And when you go back and explain to people that that's not necessarily an option, there's a degree of frustration. So, you know, there's that point about matching what residents are expecting us to do with what we can really achieve.
Thank you. I think we need to be clear with that, don't we, when we talk to them?
Well, I am fairly straightforward with them when I'm telling them what we can do and what we can't do. On this occasion, on the tipping, we made a big effort and got the district involved, which Jason organised for me to get the fencing up. That stopped a lot of the aggravation until the night that the group came across drunk and broke one of the fences down. There hasn't been any reports since, so hopefully they might not come back. We don't know, but we put the fencing back up again. That's all been, the district came out the next day. They were brilliant. They came out the next day and put it back up again. And that's as far as they can go, because it's not their responsibility. It belongs to whoever owns the coppice, which we think is the Derbyshires, and we're trying to locate Andrew Derbyshire, we think is the owner. That's the owner of the property.
Okay, lovely. Carol?
Have we been in touch with the Police and Crime Commissioner? Hardiel Dinser will come down and visit, and what it does is it sort of kick-starts the police into doing something.
We're putting this together. I spoke to him at that meeting that he came to the Whitworth, and I've got his card. It's a matter of putting it together. I'm putting all my reports through Ripley. They go direct to him anyway. I've spoke to one of the people up at Ripley. So he will get a report on what's going off anyway.
I think you should email his PA.
It's a good call to get him involved though. Maybe if we have a little committee, could get him to come and listen in.
He will come down. He will come down.
Yeah.
He needs to email his PA.
He did say that he would come back if we needed to talk to him. And I've been making sure I've been getting report numbers. So basically they are logged on their end. What the PCSO we've got around here, which is Granville Nixon, he's now got someone else coming in as well. So hopefully we'll have 2 PCSOs to talk to instead of just him. I email him. His emails go straight up to Ripley, and Ripley then process them.
Thank you. I'm conscious we've got 20 minutes left, so I'd like to push on. But thank you very much for all your hard work, Dave. That's brilliant.
I'll get on with that when I do it.
Thank you. Ian, would you like to talk to us about the allotments, please?
Okay, well, okay, can you hear me all right?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I've been meaning to talk about...
No.
Oh, sorry. Okay, try again. So you've all had the briefing. I've been trying to be very clear about the sort of decisions we need to take. You know, I've set out that actually Oldford, the first set of allotments we've got, we don't have a lot of issues with at all. Dave and I have been doing some stuff around the environment down there, but in terms of the plots and everything else, it's in a very good state. Churchtown is completely the opposite. The plots aren't well laid out. Some of them are unusable. Some of them are terribly neglected. And it feels like an issue that we really need to get hold of, because it's probably the number one issue that we get emails from residents about. Since I wrote the briefing note, I've had 3 new requests to join the mailing list, or the waiting list. So it's a hot topic at the moment in the town. So that was it, really. I mean, I think we've rewritten the contract. We want a contract that will give us some leverage when people aren't using allotments properly, because when demand is as high as it is, then we need to make sure we're making them available to people who will use them. But there are some serious questions about the way we're allocating and charging for them at the moment. So, for example, I've put in there that at Churchtown, several people have 2 allotments, which feels wrong when we have close to 30 people now on the waiting list. So I don't know quite how you want to do it, Mary, but I deliberately put some questions down there, which I wanted the council to give me a steer on, so that I could sort of work perhaps closely with Dave and a few of the other councillors, if you're interested, in trying to get us into a much better place on allotments, really.
Okay, so, oh, hang on, sorry, I'm just searching for your document.
Okay, so the first issue, is that we've rewritten the contract. Okay, we've tried to simplify it, and we've tried to make it clearer to residents what we expect from them, what we expect. And the thinking really is that if we do find that people aren't the contract, then we can allocate the allotment to somebody who will, and who will take take it seriously. So I need the council to look at the new contract and agree it, or give me a steer on how it should be amended. So that's the first thing.
Okay. So we need to have a councillor who'll do that. So, Dave, you're on the allotments committee, aren't you?
I am it, with Ian.
You and Ian. So, are we Alan? Hang on, you'll have to unmute yourself, Alan.
Do you want any feedback now on the tenancy agreement, or do you want that later?
If it's simple feedback, Alan, then I quite like it now. If it's a bit more complicated, then
well, I suspect this is because I'm here. We've got lots of demand for it. The one thing that surprised me on the tenancy agreement is that we offer it up to Darley-Dale residents, but also people within 3 miles of Darley-Dale, and that I guess I don't know why we would have that.
No, I don't. That's historic. That is.
Yes, it is historic, exactly, Dave. I think the problem is that demand wasn't always that high. So when people from outside the area asked for them, they were given them. And since they currently have them, there's probably a question there about whether we should be considering taking them off them. But it's quite difficult.
Or at least when it comes to new applicants, I guess if somebody's had it for a long time, you wouldn't want to just be harsh on them and kick them off unless there was massive local demand. But certainly you wouldn't want new applicants from 3 miles away, would you?
No, that's a good point. Yeah.
No.
So maybe we apply that law going forward. Yeah. Sorry.
Go on, Anne.
We have got lots and lots of people who've invested lots of time and money in their allotments, and it would just be heartbreaking for them if we took them away from them. So
I agree.
But I think what we do need to do is from now on just have for Darley-Dale. And we've had a very unfortunate system, said she, who was on the waiting list for an allotment for 12 years.
Yeah.
During which time the list was lost several times. And therefore there are quite a few people who've probably applied for them, been lost in the system, and then applied again and again. But really nobody should have 2 allotments.
No.
Because there's a waiting list.
I think what's happened in the past, Anne, is that people have got an allotment that they take a lot of pride in, and the one at the side of it's gone barren, and they've just decided to take it over because nobody's bothered to talk to them.
I guess this is lots of discussion you can have in the subcommittee and all.
Yeah, I think we'd better park this one up. I think it could go on forever.
Okay, let's move on.
Would anybody else like to join that committee? Would anybody else like to join in those conversations, or are we happy for Ian and Dave to take a lead?
I was doing it, but I don't think I should, because I've got an allotment.
I'm kicking you off next week.
Thank you.
All right.
All right.
Okay.
Ideally, at some point, when we're doing this allocation of committees and things, maybe one person might think they want to have a go with me, and we'll just form it then next month.
Well, could I ask if anybody is interested in getting involved with allotments? Could they contact David in the next month and see what's what to get involved with helping him?
Can I just ask? Can we check? We did a really thorough inspection at Churchtown last time in about September. We did letters. I think Sean was sending letters to people about the state of the allotments.
Yeah,
She did that.
Yeah. Go on, Dave.
Yeah.
yeah. I went down there with Sean, and to be honest with you, a lot of the allotments aren't fit for purpose anyway. So what we've decided to try and do is to peg all the allotments so everybody knows where their allotment is and what it is. And the ones that aren't usable, we can then try and resurrect them and then reallocate them.
Has that been done? Has the pegging out been done?
That's what, no,
Has the pegging out of it been done?
because the COVID came in and Ian's gone into self-isolation. So
Well, we had a date in the diary, didn't we? But we couldn't do it.
we were going to go, all two of us were going to go down, measure it up, peg it when we measured it, and then that basically concluded the measuring. And where we put the pegs in, we've got to get some pegs, and everybody knows what part of the plot they've got then. And then anything that we haven't got that's allocated to people, then we'll look at how to resurrect it and reallocate it.
Okay, lovely, thank you.
It sounds complicated, but it isn't.
Okay, Steve, you got your hand up.
Yeah, hi. Ian, I've got a neighbour across the road from me who's doing a lot of work on a house that they're renovating, they're going to sell. There's a lot of earth in their garden, which I'm presuming they're going to want to move on, which we could probably use on the bank of the Odford nurseries. Mary raised an interesting point as to whether that would come under household waste, garden waste, or whether we could take it and ask them to bring it down and shore up the bank. How do we go about finding out about that?
Do you know, I had a look at it, Steve. I've been down to Watford, and actually that space is pretty well filled now. So people have piled stuff in there and stuff off the allotments. And actually, I don't think that amount of stuff opposite you will go in there. There's a big pile of dirt opposite you, and there's not enough space down at Watford, I don't think.
Can I make another suggestion?
Yeah.
Churchtown, there's plenty of area to put loose soil. If it's literally soil, the allotment holders will take it away, because the soil down there is not very good anyway. But we've got to straighten out some of the allotments down there because they're boggy. They're like a bog down near the railway end because there's no drainage. Drainage.
Sure.
Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. Mine was a swamp.
Dave, a lot of what they've got across from me is soil.
Yeah.
There are some hardcore. There's a bit of hardcore at the side, but the majority of it is soil. And it'll be a shame to see it getting taken away to a landfill or wherever if we could possibly use it on the allotments.
Well, yeah, I mean, that sort of stuff, what they call topsoil, or supposedly, is £100 a go anyway. So there's space down there to dump it, and then we can sort it out later when it's available. Because two of the plots down there, you can't get on them anyway because they're underwater most of the time.
So Churchtown rather than Odford, Steve, but I think we could use it. But not.
If I speak to the guys when they come back on site to build and ask them, can we have it?
Yeah,
I'll come back and give you some feedback on that.
yeah, they've got access. They can get down there, Steve. There's no problem of access.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, lovely. Okay, councillor conduct. Shall we talk about this with regards to the communications report, Carol?
Can
Is that right?
you want me to do that now?
Yeah.
For personnel? Yeah.
Well, so we're talking about council conduct and the relying on video conference technology and social media conducting council business. Do you want to talk about this as regards what's in the comms report?
Okay, I'll go through the comms report then, yeah?
Thanks.
If I go through the whole thing and then people can make suggestions and questions afterwards rather than each bit, is that okay? So just a thanks to Councillor Crystal, who's resigned from the group, for everything that she's done over the past few months. There was some suggestions that the protocol that we signed off at the January Town Council meeting wasn't necessarily fit for purpose, so that's something people might want to discuss. That's the four of us, the four councillors, had a suggestion around WhatsApp, which is a way of having fewer WhatsApp messages, and the things we suggested is that we don't have to respond to everything. And I think at the town council meeting when we thought about this in January, we also talked about the fact that we don't have to keep saying thank you to everybody. We're all working as a team, and I think we can trust each other. We don't have to thank people for what they do, which is part of really of their job. That's a suggestion from us. Another suggestion is that it isn't really best practice to use reply all of the time. Anybody who works in business knows that, and so we suggest that we don't necessarily have to do that. We would like to suggest that we have a fortnightly email from the chair, which brings everybody up to date with the things that are happening in the subgroups, because there's been quite a bit of stuff going around about people not knowing what's going on, and we think this might keep people in the loop. So those are the things on internal comms. On the external comms, I know that there's plans afoot to live stream council meetings, and I know that by June, I think, Ian, I think this will be sorted. And also we're thinking about whether we could stream on a YouTube channel. Now, I don't know whether we'd have to have our own YouTube channel for that. There's no reason why we shouldn't, but we wouldn't be able to put very much on it. On Community Voice, so we're continuing to produce this, so that comes out every 6 weeks. I contact about 50 plus contacts every time to try and get pieces for the magazine. And it's quite a laborious process, and it takes quite a lot of emails and phone calls. So it'd be really helpful if other councillors could help with that. The closing date is Friday for the next issue, and we've got about 6 or 7 pieces in so far. We could do with a few more. And we've got the cover, thanks to Julie, from ages ago, which we'll use. Facebook, we've heard about that, and that's going exceptionally well. Our Twitter account, we haven't had much activity on there, but Kathy sent me the password so that Marisa and I are going to pick up the Twitter account now. And then really the major thing is we need a new website. Our website is really not fit for purpose, and we could redesign it and we could fiddle about with it and we could spend £500 here and there, but we really need to spend £5,000 to £8,000 on having a completely new website, because otherwise we're just not going to engage the public through our website. And the final thing is, if anybody else wants to join the comms group, we'd be really pleased to see you. Thank you, Mary.
Thanks, Carol. I just want to raise the website thing again. Poor Ian, God love you, can't do it in like half an hour here and there. It's too big a job, so that does need some serious thought. So I think that we need to really, perhaps the comms group need to make a proposal to the councillors to how we're going to approach that. But the website isn't particularly fit for purpose. Ian tells me it doesn't get a lot of traffic. The people that stay there don't really stay for very long. Things, I don't know if anybody's actually looked at the website. It's really hard to find anything that you'd want. The file naming is
gross.
It's just got loads of historical stuff in that we don't need.
No,
Yeah.
I don't want to.
I was just going to say, I think the problem you've got with the website is that people have lost confidence. There might have been a time it was very good. Sorry, there might have been a time when the website was very good. Residents went to it, but they didn't find what they needed, and they're not coming back, and that is the problem. So I think, if you really want to engage with the residents of Darlingdale through that website, you need to, launch it and make it look different and give them the information that they're looking for, rather than just carry on with what we've got at the moment, which is frankly lost all its credibility, I think.
Quite agree. James?
Yeah, I'd like to draw on asking people's experience in web hosting, because obviously there's a lot of hosting people who are selling packages for a decent price for what you can get, how many pages you can get, the graphics you can put on, but a lot of it is really the assembly of the website itself. Does anybody on the council have experience of putting a full website together?
Yeah.
Shall I go, Mary? Yeah. I've just commissioned a new website for the Worksworth Festival, so I've just engaged in all that process. I know nothing about how to do it, but I know how to commission things, and we can put a paper.
What I was thinking of is obviously that cuts down the cost massively, surely, because of the work involved, really, I guess, because the rest is buying space in effect, isn't it?
Well, I think we need a contract that builds a new website, but it also builds in the hosting, obviously, but builds in a regular contract that it can be updated when we want it. So what the contract I've just pursued for the festival is that you pay somebody an amount every year and you can call on them for anything, if anything needs tweaking. So if you want something new put up, if you want a new page, you know, you've got that call out fee.
And was that £5,000?
No.
About 8.
You know, Ian.
Hang on, Dave. Alan's had his hand up for a while.
Sorry, I can't see him, Doc.
Go on, Alan.
Yeah, I think two things. Most important thing, I think, before we start spending money, is to decide what we want, which Carol will be well aware of. So to agree some kind of spec for it. So what, to Ian's point, you know, what information do people want? So I would suggest the first thing is, before we even worry about the money or how we host it, is what do we want it, you know, a little team to decide what, and maybe look at other town council websites and decide what we want on it, because once we've got that, it's much easier to find the right solution and decide how much money you want to spend.
Yeah,
so, and I'm more than happy to work with anybody on that. Well, the Whitworth site was created for nothing, largely because we've got Andy Sullivan, who is an expert on setting up websites. So I'll happily help him for ask him for some help. But really, it's with us first before we talk technical stuff to get the content right for the residents.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you. Steve, did you have your hand up before?
I did, but James, I think, wanted to ask a question before I did.
No.
Me?
Somebody was about.
Dave,
sorry.
Dave, was it?
Yeah, probably me.
Okay.
It's a question to Ian.
Okay.
Are we still using Wish? Are we still in with them?
Yeah, we are. And but we don't provide the website. The website is a bought-in. I mean, pick up James' point. It's bought-in. It's very formulaic. You log into it. It's got a set format, and you place pictures and text into it. Okay, so there's no sort of creativity to it. Now, the plus of that is that a lot of the stuff that you get in at the moment, we are essentially recycling other people's news at the moment with that website. We're not creating that much of our own.
No.
Actually, the way that it comes to us, it works quite well, because you can put pictures in and you can put the text in and you can save it and it's done. But it's it's not an engaging website. It's not an engaging way to present information. Difficult to navigate, and it's difficult to find stuff. And frankly, the statistics of it are appalling. So the big issue, picking up Alan's point, really, is whether you want to carry on with that sort of easy, low cost, but not very attractive or engaging formula, which loads of companies will offer you, or whether you want to ramp it up a level and use that as a really good way of engaging the residents. And so but it will cost you money. It's as simple as that, really.
The question is, what have we got to put on a website that people will come on looking for, apart from what on council business will they be looking for? Most of the time when they're coming hunting around, they're looking to what's going off at the Whitworth, aren't they?
No, they're looking at documents.
I hope that they were looking at what was going on with the town council. I'm going to have to pause. Can I have a vote just to extend the meeting for 15 minutes? We will be done in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Can I have a seconder?
I seconded that.
Thanks. You're all in agreement. The point is that if people are only coming to look at Whitworth stuff, then we're not doing a good enough job as a town council.
No. So when you get to Bakewell, I think Bakewell run their town hall as a community area, and they do all their activities on there, and the council stuff's on there. I'm not quite sure how it works now.
Okay. Ian?
So I just wanted to pick up Dave's point. I mean, you know, the trick of a really good website is that somebody comes looking for one thing, and it may be when the local tip or recycling centre's opening, and actually they find all these things they never expected to find, and you know, suddenly you've got somebody who's going to be coming back on a regular basis. And we're a million miles away from that, honestly. What we are seeing from the statistics is that people are coming looking for specific stuff. And maybe they're finding it, but then they're going straight off again. And if they don't find it, they're going off anyway because they never found what they came for in the first place. So that's the trick you've got to pull off. Once you've got them on there, you know, they're going to be surprised by just how much information and interesting stuff you're giving them. That's what you really need to do.
Thank you. Steve?
Okay, Ian, that's really interesting stuff, and I think that's a very your background, your industry. That's a really good guidance tool. I just want to come to the document that was issued by the comms group for this meeting. I have a bit of a problem with this document because I'm absolutely opposed to censorship by the comms subcommittee, and I feel that this document is exactly that. The comms group is a communications group. It's not a dictatorship, and I don't believe that the comms group should dictate on what councillors do and don't know. We're 12 councillors, we're all equal, and I'm opposed to the fact that things such as the Whitworth crowdfunding was not mentioned to any of the councillors, yet it went live on the Facebook site via the comms group without 12 councillors knowing what was going on. The same exactly with the tea and coffee prizes, what have you. The comms group is there to facilitate communications with the Darley-Dale public. It's not there to restrict information between councillors. And I, for one, if I get some really good information on the WhatsApp group, and I think that Dave's doing a good job, I'm going to tell him he's doing a good job. So please don't tell me what I can and can't say on a closed council WhatsApp group, or when I can and can't reply to all. I think that is overstepping the mark of what you do as a comms group, which is the comms group is there to communicate with the Darley-Dale Town Council, Darley-Dale Town people, not to dictate to what the council do. I'm really upset by that document.
As far as those posts on Facebook, we share quite a lot of things on Facebook that hasn't gone through the whole council.
I have no problem, Mary, with somebody saying Derbyshire Dales District Council is doing that, or Age Concern is doing this, or this business is open, that business is open. There is a clear point here that when things are going on that affect the whole council, then the whole council should be informed before it goes live on any, and I mean absolutely any public forum. And I don't believe that's happening because I believe the comms group think that they have the right to tell people as selective information as and when. And I'm sorry, we're not part of a secret society. I am really unhappy with this document, and I think it dictates to the council as a whole what information they will and will not receive, and I think it's totally unacceptable.
Can you tell me what we haven't shared then? If you say that we're a secret...
Mary, I've pointed it out point blank. The Whitworth crowdfunding page did not come live to any of the councillors until it had been put on the Facebook group. That directly affects the council. That directly affects every single member of this council, and yet people didn't know about it. I'm sorry, I'm having a little bit of a rant here, because I think the way that the comms group is trying to overrun the knowledge of the council is absolutely bang out of line.
Dawn? Can you unmute yourself? No. Dawn, you'll have to do it yourself. I can't do it.
Right, basically Facebook's me, really. And I've always gone with Sean, who polices me and takes posts off that aren't appropriate. And I've shared posts for, I don't know how long it's been set up, just because we're getting more people viewing it now, but I've shared posts about all sorts of things. So do I have to come to you to the full council about sharing the Samaritans.
No, Dawn, I've just said that. Absolutely not a problem. But things that directly affect the council, then it should be discussed with council before it goes live.
Directly affecting the council?
Dawn, I think you're doing a perfect job on Facebook as far as advertising things and stuff that's going on in the community.
I'll have a chat with you about it. Let's talk, rather than bring it in this meeting, because it is me that does most of Facebook.
Dawn, I'm not. Facebook stuff's brilliant. What I object to is what is in here and what Carol's just said is, let's just not copy everybody into emails. Let's not say thank you. I'm sorry, it's a communications group. It is not.
I get the point though, because I can't find Ian's papers talking about. I didn't see Ian's papers about the allotment and the other stuff because there was 4 or 5 more emails and it got lost, and I can't open it on the last one. So I do get a bit lost with all the emails. Just the little points. I mean, just don't include me in it so I can get to Ian's email. That's what I'm saying.
Dawn, the point that was being made was don't email everybody. But you just said you could do with us emailing, and that I agree. Everybody needs to know what everybody else is thinking on the council. We're all equal councillors, and I seem to think, and I'm not very techy, I seem to think I've got to watch what I'm putting on here now, because on the 21st of April, there was a bit of a warning. Watch what you're putting on or else. And I'm very uncomfortable at the moment about what because I'm dealing with all sorts of other stuff. And I go on WhatsApp because I find it easy for me to use. And if there's an email running, I will answer that email. And I've seen a trail of emails of 10. And it doesn't matter, as long as everybody knows what everybody else is talking about. But I don't want one bloody great email in a fortnight's time telling me, oh, you've missed this, that, or the other. I'm not that techie duck. Your Facebook's perfect. I like WhatsApp, and I like answering back on the emails. When an email comes through, I will answer it, and I pick them up regular. But I don't want monitoring on what I'm telling other councillors. I don't like that. Never happened.
I didn't think we were, but
right, okay.
Yeah.
Ian, you've had your hand up, and then Anne.
Sorry. So you know, I maybe from a town clerk perspective, the reply to all thing is really important to me. You know, we get a ton of email in the inbox, and a lot of it, frankly, is not really irrelevant. I mean, really, what we're interested in is the outcome. And I think Carol said it. I mean, in business, you know, it's good to think about who is going to be reading this and whether they really need to see it. And that was the point. And I don't think it's particularly anything sinister, Steve, although, you know, you may disagree. I think it's just about making life a bit easier for it all by not bothering us with things that we don't necessarily need to see.
Thank you. Anne? And then Jane.
I had thought that the point, and I may have missed this, I'm sorry if I have, clarify for me. I had thought the point about the trail that Carol had made was that we should just be aware that anyone can ask for freedom of information and see everything that we've written. So just to be aware of how we write things. I had understood it that way.
That's exactly.
Just because sometimes, you know how it is, we all get tired, it's late at night, we write something quickly, and you don't necessarily think that that might then get given to somebody because they've asked for it in 6 weeks' time. I've got that right?
Yeah. Thank you. James and then Steve.
Yeah, it's not about the small stuff. It's not about the small stuff to me. It's about the actual directives that are made that are actually actioned upon, without talking to or communicating with myself and other councillors, such as directives that we're going straight out there to the public with, and we don't know about it. So it's about the action as opposed to the minutiae of what Dawn's putting on there. Not that it's not valuable, Dawn. It's just that's good information to spread amongst people. But it's actually decisions that the council is making through our communications that we should all be aware of. That's what it is to me.
Are you talking about the nominations for the gifting.
Absolutely. To see it go out there before I even know about it, of course I'm going to go.
You did know about it. I'd sent it round.
But it was already out. It's gone.
No, I sent it round the week before.
Anyway, I didn't get it. Anyway. So and
That's
again,
my point about having too many emails.
Well, again, it should be discussed amongst everybody, and then it's a directive. But if you don't know about it, which I assume that's where Steve's coming from, and again, if we are putting it out on our media for the Whitworth Centre as well, then it's nice to know in advance as well that we are, as a council, putting that message out there. So it's just knowing before the message goes out rather than after. That's what it is.
Are you talking about the crowdfunding?
The crowdfunding, yes.
The crowdfunding that was shared on all Bridgetown, everywhere. Yeah.
Hang on, Steve's got a question. Go on.
Not so much a question, more to say that, look, we are 12 councillors, and I don't believe that a subcommittee has the right to bypass the 12 councillors and start putting stuff out there that is pertinent to councillors' interests. And I want to make clear, I think you're doing a fantastic job with Facebook, as are the rest of the social media community voice. I think they're doing a brilliant job. But I do feel that sometimes the comms group think they can keep the rest of the councillors in the dark. I don't believe a once fortnightly update from the chair is sufficient when we should be finding out things such as if the clerk is off sick. We shouldn't be finding that out 2 weeks after it's happened. I think we should be told. I believe there is a total lack of communication within this whole council at this point, whether it be intentional or not. And I believe that this sort of report and this sort of recommendation simply adds to that. And I'm absolutely livid by its content. I think it's absolutely ridiculous that 4 councillors think they can dictate what everybody else on the council knows about. And I think it needs to be retracted and altered immediately.
Alan?
We need to find a way through this. And actually, the question we're asking is which you could apply to every one of our groups, is what is the role and the accountability of each group? And what powers are we delegating to each group?
I agree, Alan. At the end of the day, we all bring everything back to main council for discussion. Yet the conversation that I had with Carol over WhatsApp the other week suggested that actually comms can do what they want, which really infuriated me.
Can I just finish? Halfway through.
Sorry, it was email, not WhatsApp. It was email.
Alan?
Yeah, so all I was trying to say was that we're reviewing. We should review what we have given as delegated authority to the comms group, rather than talk about, we didn't know about the Whitworth crowdfunding, which just gets us into an emotional place again, doesn't it? We should just say, what have we given to the comms group as their delegated authority? Do we agree with that? And that's a simple thing. So circulate around what we said for each of the groups, what we've signed up to in terms of what they should do and how and agree whether we've got the spec right.
That's a good idea. And
I just say, Councillor actually mentioned working as a team, and I absolutely feel that we are not working as a team with this document that stands in front of us at this point. I believe it needs to be revised, and I believe that every councillor should have an input into that.
All right. What we'll do is next month, when we talk about committees, we'll make sure that when we talk about committees and who's on committees, we'll also have a terms of reference for each committee so that we're all very clear on what happens and where. Okay?
But we have to agree them terms of reference rather than just being put in front of us and accepted.
It's the council, we have to all agree everything. That's how.
Mary,
Dave?
We need to work in groups on different committees, but we need to pull the council together. We need to pull it together to work.
I know, and I'm really trying, Dave.
Oh, no, it's not criticism. I'm trying to make a point that we're putting groups together of people. Oh, do you want to go on this committee or that committee? You've got to work together to make it work. And sometimes we miss the point. You've joined up for a reason, and we need to know what the reason is you've joined up for sometimes, because a lot of people at the moment are getting confused on why they're a councillor and what they're doing as a councillor. And a lot of people that I speak to, because I do the community side of it, are very confused of who is a councillor on Dido, because they don't know who a councillor is or who to contact. We are losing the plot as regards, we've got 12 councillors and we need to be united as a council, which I hoped we'd got, but we seem to be fragmented, and we need to put groups together that work together and complement each other, and then all the groups go together as a full council and work together, because otherwise we'll lost the plot up.
Thank you. Ian?
Just quickly, we need a governance model that's clear on roles and responsibilities and who's involved in each group. So, do you think we have terms of reference for every subcommittees?
We've definitely got terms of reference for the finance.
For a working group, not a committee.
We've got
Okay, so let's keep. Can I make a suggestion then? So my suggestion would be that everybody who runs one of these working groups or subcommittees sends to me a list of people who attend and a list of their terms of reference if they exist, and I'll try and pull that into something that's a single view.
I'm pretty sure that Sean will have a lot of this information stored. Okay. So you, me and Sean can work together over the next few.
Okay. Well, let's do that, and let's bring to the next council meeting, a map of our governance, and let's try and improve it.
Can I suggest one step further on that one, Ian?
Yeah.
That before the next council meeting, without it being a council meeting, the councillors could probably talk this through properly without it being restricted to a council meeting.
Well, let's just get all the information together and then see where we're at. Okay, so let's do that. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Have we got any more on that?
No.
Okay.
Can I just say something? I appreciate your views, Steve, and I think that's fair enough. I do think we ought to thank the committee for really working hard on trying to put things together. And we might all have a divergence of views, and that's what we have to discuss, don't we? And that's fair enough. But I think we're all volunteers who are doing our best and trying to present things. So, I think we thank people for their work. Yeah.
Thank you, Anne. That's kind of you to say.
I think.
Hang on, sorry, Dave. Steve does have his hand up, but I am going to say we are really overrunning and we've still got personnel to do. So just please make it quick.
I absolutely agree. I think the comms group is doing a fantastic job. I just don't believe it should be a dictatorship by 4 councillors to the rest of the council.
Okay. All right. Should we move on?
Okay, so let's pop on to personnel. So obviously this is confidential. Ian, I'll talk to you about how this goes in the minutes. Just to let you know, Sean's obviously been off for 6 weeks now. We're hoping that she'll be back on Tuesday. I'd just like to gently remind everybody of the way that we were working before she left. And if we could just keep communication with her to Dawn.
You should stop recording.
No, you've just muted yourself. There you go, go on.
You should stop recording this because it's confidential.
Okay, oh yeah, no, you're right. Okay, well let's talk about the date of the next meeting first, whilst that's recorded then. So the date of the next meeting will be the 3rd Thursday of next month, which will be, the 18th of June.
May I bring up something, because it should be put to the end and it's not personnel, it's councillors only. So can I bring up my questions that Dolly down in Bloom wanted at any point?
Yes, please.
Really quick. Heads of agreement still outstanding, no work's been done. Do the council want the beds planted up in October because they have to put the order in next month? Do they want them, if it's lockdown's over and everything's back to normal, do they want the bedding planted?
Yes, I think so. It would look nice. On that, we have had a quote for cutting the grass verges. So, Dave, we didn't catch up today about the verges that I've missed off the quotation.
No, I'll talk to you tomorrow.
But, well, okay. I'd like to agree as a council that we would spend no more than £500 for one cut of the grass, and then we will review the contract.
The grass verges are already being cut by residents in certain areas, so Barbara told me.
Yeah,
they've got a group together doing it.
Yeah.
Okay, so do you just want to leave that then and just...
Can we work on it more? Just agree a price and then work on it?
Okay, well, that's what I'm saying. Should we agree no more than £500 and then we'll work on it a bit further?
Yes. Because
Okay.
they wouldn't have to cut them if we got somebody else doing it, so it would be really good. Thank
Well,
you.
also on a health and safety risk assessment point of view, it's not great the volunteers are doing it. So
Not the volunteers, it's residents coming out of the house with the lawnmowers.
again, if they hurt themselves doing it, then it's us that are going to be liable. So I'd rather that we cut them. So
Never know, but
Alan.
Just probably the right point to raise. I circulated, or Ian circulated round the government guidance on what we should be doing in public places and parks. And we do, in that guidance, for anything that we are responsible for, we should be formally assessing whether we need to be doing anything in terms of social distancing at the moment. So if we haven't done that process, you might on your head say, well, we don't need to be doing anything. Unless we've gone through, at least the town clerk has gone through thinking, actually, we're responsible for this. Should we be putting any signage there or doing anything? We are not fulfilling our role as a council. So that's why I put that document on.
Okay.
And I will agree with Alan on that one, because we are working on the side of the road and we're working with the public in the areas where we're using machinery.
It's a specific COVID thing. We're responsible for public areas, and therefore we should formally consider whether we need to do anything. And if we're not, we just need to make a note somewhere in our records that we've considered this public verge we're responsible for. We don't think we need to put any social distancing measures on it and then move on.
Okay, thank you. Well, perhaps Ian and I and Sean can go through that next week, if that's all right.
Yeah.
You want me to?
Yes, please, Dave.
I'll go and see what's been going off down the A6 tomorrow, and I'll get back to you.
Thank you. That'd be much appreciated. Okay. So I'm going to close. Steve.
Mary, your next door neighbour, Urban Planters, has he given us a price yet for a 3-month contract to go out and cut all the verges?
No, not yet, because I was waiting for the updated. So where like Cobb Slater's is, which I would refer to as the highest one.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Just some details.
You know what I mean?
I just think, judging from the quotations he sent through and judging from the chat you were having with him last night when we passed you with the dog, we'd probably get a more favourable quotation for a 3-month period, because I think it's right what other people have said here, that residents shouldn't be cutting them verges.
So so we have given discretionary powers for the clerk to make those spends. Are we all comfortable with that? Yeah.
Yeah, it's still in place, isn't it?
Yeah.
Julie just had a hand up there, Mary.
Thanks.
I was just saying yes. I agree.
All right.
Okay. We'll obviously discuss it with the council before anything's done, but that's sort of just needed you to know that that's the way that we're working, and obviously to get those things done sooner rather than later, official. Because if we leave it too much longer, it's going to be a hell of a job to get done. Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to close the main meeting now. So thanks for that. Good one. Now Ian, got to pop off. Oh no, Ian can stay. No, that's fine. I'm just
recording.
Hold on, sorry, Mary, we've missed an agenda item: correspondence and information received.
We've been through quite a lot of the correspondence because that was the start with the public participation. Is there any more correspondence?
Correspondence that I'm aware of, we had a complaint in about one of our councillors. We've also had an application in for somebody wanting to join the council. There are a couple that I'm aware of.
They've been dealt with. The council complaint has gone to Sandra Lamb.
Okay.
There aren't any spaces on the council.
Okay, but it's correspondence received though, yeah?
So what was the complaint?
We'll talk about that at another time.
All right. Okay.
It is correspondence received, but then we have a lot of it.
Okay. But it is minuted on the meeting.
If a resident has made the point, should we not answer it to the public?
What point?
Well, obviously they've taken the time to complain about something. So Shouldn't we?
Well, it's not for the council to deal with because we can't deal with council behaviour, so it's not for the council to deal with.
But it is correspondence received.
Yeah.
It's actually a personnel matter, I would have thought, wouldn't you?
No, we can't. No, personnel can't deal with another councillor.
We're not personnel.
Can I double check with Sean and we can raise this at the next month because I'm not sure
Yeah.
what we do and we don't need to say. So
Yeah, I was just going to say, it depends. I mean, the complaint was to you, Mary, so I don't know how that works.
Ian.
Well, I'll have a chat with Sean. I don't know what we shouldn't share. I don't want to share anything that we shouldn't share. So I'm going to have a chat with Sean and we can pick up next month if needed.
Okay. Can I just come on to the Ed Runham correspondence, which I think came in via a newspaper?
That was to the Matlock Mercury, not to us.
I do believe as a council we should reply to Ed Runham and we should point out the fact that we do give the Whitworth £45,000 in grants per year, plus we pay £10,500 per year for office rental, because his point was, why don't we increase the council tax to give the Whitworth Centre £60,000 a year? I think the council should respond to that. Unfortunately, these points got missed at the last meeting because the last meeting, unfortunate stuff happened, but it doesn't mean we should bury it now.
No, it's my fault. I'd not clocked on the next thing. So this is.
I did ask for all the points from the last meeting that weren't covered to be put on this meeting.
I know, and I've just let that slip.
Well,
So,
I mean, I would have thought that what we're discussing now comes under correspondence and information received.
okay, well, I'll discuss with Sean about how much that we need to share about councillor conduct. So I'll talk with Sean about that. As per the Ed Runham, he wrote a letter in the comments section of the Matlock Mercury, and so we can choose whether or not we respond to that.
I believe as a council we should respond to that, because I think it directly queried the council's support of the Whitworth Centre. And one of the things that I don't wish to reopen old wounds, but one of the misconceptions was that the council did not want to support the Whitworth Centre, which has been, nobody could be further from the truth than that. When you've got trustees claiming the council don't wish to support the Whitworth Centre, you've got a member of the public writing in saying, why don't the council support the Whitworth Centre? It's really, really important that we reply to that member of the public. We do wish to support the Whitworth Centre. The intention is to support the Whitworth Centre, and this is what we currently do for the Whitworth Centre.
Right. Well, a letter will be drafted and we'll discuss it at the next council meeting. Is that all right?
Yep.
Julie?
Yeah, I'd just like to say I agree with Steve on that, and just for the reason being, I don't think we're very good as a council at promoting ourselves and all the good things that we do. We know we do it, but I don't think residents do. And I think anything we can do to get the word out there, you know, what we are doing and what we do for the community is brilliant.
If I'm perfectly honest, Julie, I have tried, but I have come up against a few barriers here and there. Dave, would you like to talk?
Yeah, it's back to the Ed Runham thing. I know Ed Runham from way back, and he ran the cinema club, which is moved because he couldn't afford to be there, or some reason he's gone next door. He also asked for council support with the Scout group some years ago, quite a few years ago now, because obviously I was on council then, and he didn't get anywhere with the people who were in power then. So he's got a bit of an axe to grind on certain things. So it might be prudent that we do answer it in such a way that we sell ourselves as we are obliging and we are helping the Whitworth. Else otherwise it looks like exactly what somebody else has just said. We're not actually helping anybody. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Okay. I'll draft a letter and we'll talk about it at the next council meeting. Is that all right?
Yeah, because he's making out we're not prepared to help anybody.
Okay, right. Has anybody else got anything they'd like to say? Okay, so at that, I'm going to stop the recording of this meeting. Thank you all very much for your time. Our next meeting will be the 18th of June. Lovely.
Yay!
Stop recording. Do I want to stop recording?